I don't want to be sexist here, but why does a guy have to sleep on the couch? It's his room, too.
Hi, welcome to Glow Gossip's USA. Courtroom was silent. Not the kind of silence that calms the soul, but the kind that pierces it. Everyone held their breath as Robyn Brown, once the fiercely defended favorite wife of Kody Brown, rose from her seat, shoulders trembling. She didn't have to speak to be heard. Her body language screamed surrender. Her eyes, once filled with defiance and entitlement, now brimmed with guilt, pain, and something that Sister Wives fans thought they'd never see from her: remorse. The judge watched her closely as her attorney handed over a stack of papers that would change the course of Brown family history forever. Robyn Brown had officially relinquished her legal claim to the disputed Kody Pass land, the land that had torn the family apart. The land that Janelle and Meri had cried, pleaded, and fought for. And now, after years of betrayal, broken promises, and public humiliation, Robyn stepped back. She gave it up. The silence in the courtroom was interrupted only by the sound of her pen scratching across the final document, her signature. Her surrender. But the drama wasn't over. Just as the air began to settle, Kody Brown, his hair tied back tightly, eyes sunken with years of regret, stood up. No one expected him to speak. After all, for years he'd let silence and favoritism speak for him. He had stood behind Robyn as she gained control, emotionally distanced himself from Meri and Janelle, and let the family collapse like a sandcastle at high tide. But something in that moment shifted. Maybe it was the weight of public scrutiny. Maybe it was the raw truth staring him down in a courtroom filled with former lovers, betrayed wives, and a judge who had seen it all. Whatever it was, it moved Kody to do something unthinkable. He apologized. "I made promises I didn't keep." His voice cracked, breaking the silence again. "I let my relationships with Janelle and Meri erode. I wasn't honest about the land. And I regret every ounce of pain I've caused." The room froze. Meri's lips quivered, her hands clenched, not from anger, but from the emotional chaos his words triggered. Janelle didn't look away. Her eyes burned into Kody like a wildfire, waiting to consume years of lies. This wasn't just about land. This was about betrayal, about being discarded emotionally, financially, and spiritually. And for the first time, Kody wasn't hiding behind Robyn. He wasn't blaming Christine. He wasn't spinning narratives. It was finally, painfully human. For years, the Sister Wives audience had watched with growing frustration as Robyn's influence over Kody grew unchecked. What began as a plural marriage built on shared faith and values had mutated into a twisted hierarchy where Robyn reigned and the others were reduced to shadows. The one strong bond between the women dissolved. Christine left. Janelle and Meri were ghosted, their investments ignored, their emotional labor dismissed. And through it all, Kody passed, the symbol of their future, untouched, unresolved, and soaked in resentment. Fans remembered how Janelle, in particular, fought tooth and nail to stay close to that land. She lived in a trailer on it. She weathered storms. She clung to the hope that her dream home, her independence, would eventually be honored. But Kody, he grew more distant. He questioned her choices. He ridiculed her efforts. No years later, it's finally Janelle's name that's being restored on that title deed. The courtroom's final verdict wasn't just a legal one, it was emotional vindication. The judge ruled that Janelle and Meri would have full rights to their respective parcels of land. Janelle was granted clear water access, boundaries mapped out precisely. Meri was awarded the option to develop or sell her portion freely, no longer held hostage by ambiguity or favoritism. The courtroom buzzed as the paperwork was finalized, and you could almost feel the collective sigh of relief from every woman who had ever screamed at their TV watching Robyn get everything while the others suffered in silence. This was justice, and it was raw, overdue, and deliciously public. Social media exploded within minutes. Reddit threads lit up like wildfire. Finally, Robyn surrendered, and the court did what we've all been screaming about for years. One user posted, "Twitter turned into a celebration zone," with hashtags like hashtag Coyote Pass Justice and hashtag Team Janelle trending. Fans created memes of Kody holding deeds out to Janelle and Meri like peace offerings. TikTokers reenacted the courtroom apology, voice shaking with emotion. Even Christine, now free and living her best life with David in Utah, shared a cryptic Instagram story when truth rises, peace follows. No names, no tags. Just a clear shot across the emotional battlefield of her past. And while fans rejoiced, one question began to circulate like a rumor with teeth. Can Robyn ever recover from this? For years, Robyn painted herself as the misunderstood one, the loyal wife, the peace seeker. But this moment shattered that illusion. Her surrender wasn't just legal, it was symbolic. She had to face the role she played in the isolation, manipulation, and collapse of a family that once claimed to be built on unity. No more hiding behind teary eyes and quiet tones. No more deflecting the weight of decisions made in silence. The land that became her fortress of favoritism was now slipping through her fingers, and with it, the last piece of credibility she held in the eyes of many fans. As the courtroom cleared, Kody stayed seated. He didn't follow Robyn out. He didn't rush to comfort her. He just sat there, eyes staring blankly ahead, like a man watching the ruins of his own kingdom collapse. For so long he'd played the role of the misunderstood patriarch, burdened by the weight of 4 wives, endless children, and crumbling ideals. But now, he was just a man, alone in a wooden chair, surrounded by legal documents and echoes of the lives he once ruled. And somewhere, maybe deep in his mind, he realized this wasn't just a verdict, it was a reckoning. Meanwhile, Janelle walked out with her head high. She didn't need to cry, didn't need to gloat. Her victory was in her silence, in the way she stood tall without Kody beside her. Meri followed, quiet but composed. No longer the woman begging for crumbs of attention. No longer the afterthought. The pain wasn't gone, but now it had a purpose, a foundation. A deed in her name. A new chapter. Outside the courthouse, fans gathered. Some held signs, some cried. One even yelled out, "We love you, Janelle." And for a moment, it felt like something sacred had been restored. Not just property or promises, but power. The power of truth. The power of women reclaiming what was always theirs. And the power of letting go of a man who never deserved to hold the pen when their story was being written. But the ripple effects have just begun. With Christine already out, and now Janelle and Meri legally and emotionally severing ties through this court ruling, what does this mean for Kody and Robyn's future? Can they rebuild without the family structure they so openly benefited from? Will they retreat further into their bubble of denial, finally face the isolation they've carved for themselves? And more importantly, will Kody learn from this? Or will history repeat in a smaller, sadder echo? Stay tuned. Because if this courtroom scene was the climax, what comes next might just be the fallout. Glogosipes USA will be here to break every detail as it
But he doesn't need to not be there. I mean, in fact, it should be the other way around. He should be there, present.
Well, yeah, but you...
As the dust from the courtroom decision began to settle, a strange mix of emotions lingered in the air of vindication, grief, confusion, and a fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, this long-fought war was finally over. But for Robyn Brown, the woman long seen as the centerpiece of favoritism and fracture, the verdict was more than a legal blow, it was a public reckoning. Robyn had been labeled everything from Kody's favorite to the true homewrecker. And now that the land was no longer hers to control, she stood exposed, no longer shielded by marriage, by titles, or by the illusion of being misunderstood. Her reputation was already bruised. Now it was bleeding. Insiders whispered that Robyn was relieved, yet heartbroken. Relinquishing the land wasn't just about giving up property, was about giving up control, power. The very thing that had, defined her identity within the Brown hierarchy for more than a decade. According to those close to her, she felt drained, exhausted from years of being the lightning rod for fan hate and the emotional scapegoat within the family. But the irony was palpable. So many of the wounds the family suffered, she had a direct hand in inflicting. Her courtroom surrender might have softened the external blow, but inside, Robyn was cracking. Some say she did it for healing. Others say it was damage control. Either way, the woman who once saw plural marriage as a sisterhood now walked away alone, without a legacy tied to the land she once clung to so tightly. And then there's Kody. His courtroom apologies still echoed in headlines. But for fans, it begged the question, is this really redemption or just another performance? After all the chaos he caused, a few teary-eyed words weren't going to erase. Over a decade of emotional neglect, manipulative behavior, and public disregard for the women who built him into the man he once was. Kody might have apologized, but he still held ties to the remaining parcels of Coyote Pass. He still lived under the same roof as Robyn, and he still hadn't shown through action that he understood what true accountability looked like. 1. Reddit user wrote it best. You can't apologize with your mouth and keep acting with your ego. For Janelle and Meri, that courtroom wasn't just a place of judgment, it was a place of release. But for Kody, it might have been the first time he truly felt what it's like to be powerless. Janelle, on the other hand, was radiant, empowered for so long. She had fought alone, living in a trailer, trying to remain close to the land she had partially paid for but never legally owned, weathering storms both literal and emotional. And now, with that deed finally in her name, she was no longer just surviving. She was rising. Sources close to her say she's already exploring development options. A simple home, a quiet retreat space, maybe even a wellness rental property, designed to give other women the peace she fought so long to find. She finally has something to show for all those years, a friend confided. And more than that, she finally has proof that her sacrifices weren't in vain. Janelle is no longer a wife in the shadows. She's the architect of her own future. Then there's Meri, long misunderstood, long overlooked, and often heartbreakingly loyal. For years, she clung to a marriage that had emotionally dissolved long before the paperwork followed. Her loyalty was both admired and pitied. And fans watched with agony as she was repeatedly dismissed, criticized, and excluded by Kody and increasingly Robyn. But now, Meri holds something tangible. Her name, etched in legal stone, is back, on the land she once believed was part of a dream. And with it, she's already begun writing a new story. In a recent live stream, Meri appeared relaxed, confident, glowing even. She hinted that the land could become part of her business endeavors, a retreat for women, perhaps, or a legacy investment for future generations. This is just the beginning for me, she said, her voice calm but sure. And this time, no one dared to doubt her. With the courtroom drama over, fans now ask, what happens to the Brown family? Will Kody and Robyn isolate further into their monogamous bubble? Will Meri and Janelle reforge bonds with Christine and move forward as a new sisterhood, reborn without the man who once bound them? Or is this truly the end of the family, the show, the brand, the myth? Whispers have already begun to circulate of a new spin-off possibly titled The OG3, focused solely on Christine, Janelle, and Meri, a show that tells their side, showcases their freedom, their growth, and their unfiltered truth, with season 20 of Sister Wives reportedly in post-production. Fans are now watching with eagle eyes. Will any of this courtroom showdown make it to air? Or will it be buried in contracts and silence? Robyn may have hoped to rewrite her image with this surrender, but public sentiment remains mixed at best. Long before the court hearing, viewers had already begun compiling receipts: emotional manipulation, playing victim, passive-aggressive, comments cloaked in soft tones. Many fans have commented that Robyn's current tears feel too little, too late. she gave up the land. But not the lies one Facebook user posted, and with good reason, because Robyn still refuses to take full accountability. Her recent claim that the OG3 kept a scoreboard of time spent with Kody feels more like deflection than reflection. It's easy to cry toxicity when you're the one who always had the lion's share of time, love, and attention. It's harder to admit that you never encouraged fairness in the first place. When Robyn joined the family in 2010, fans hoped her presence would be healing. A new wife with a fresh outlook. Someone who wanted unity. But what followed was chaos. From the very beginning, it felt like she came not to join a family, but to claim a man. Her bond with Kody grew fast and exclusive. She had his ear, his heart, and slowly, his priorities. Over the next decade, that imbalance became the cancer that would eat away at the Brown family structure. Christine was the first to go, refusing to live in silent misery. Janelle followed, exhausted by being sidelined. And Meri, who once had the closest bond to Robyn, walked away too. Emotionally spent and finally ready to reclaim her peace. Even now, in interviews during Sister Wives Season 19, Robyn continues to mystify fans with her detachment from reality. She talks about a lack of trust as if it appeared out of nowhere, as if it weren't the natural consequence of her monopolizing Kody's time and loyalty. She says if there are no comparisons, then there is no jealousy. But fans are quick to point out, there's no need to compare when it's already obvious who the favorite is. Robyn may believe that trust simply dissolved. But the OG3 lived together for over a decade before her arrival without the kind of deep fractures that emerged post 2010. It wasn't the concept of plural marriage that failed, it was the execution of it once favoritism became the norm. And then there's the scoreboard. Robyn referenced it in a recent episode, claiming the other wives used it to keep track of Kody's time and attention. But fans were quick to fire back. What choice did they have? When you're constantly left wondering where your husband is, when he'll see your kids, when he'll acknowledge your home, the scoreboard becomes survival, not sabotage. Robyn calls it toxic, but others call it evidence, a cry for equality. It's a way to track the slow disappearance of a husband who no longer saw you as valuable. Accountability, it seems, remains Robyn's blind spot. What's left of the family is no longer a plural unates, a monogamous couple built on the ashes of a fractured dream. Kody and Robyn, once the self-declared center of a strong family, are now surrounded by empty chairs at the dinner table and echoes of what used to be. Kody divorced Meri legally for Robyn. He lost Christine to her dignity, Janelle to her independence, and Meri to her finally broken patience. Now, they live together in a space meant for many but shared by two. And for the fans, that image is the ultimate metaphor. The house may still stand, but the family, it's gone. Still amid the rubble, hope remains not for the past to be repaired, but for new futures to be built. Janelle and Meri, with land in their names and clarity in their minds, now stand at the beginning of something new. Christine has already paved her path, remarried, and found joy. And perhaps together, the three women once labeled the other, wives can rise as the central characters in a new story. One that isn't about sharing a man, but about reclaiming themselves. The courtroom may have closed its doors, but the story is far from over. For the Brown family, this may be the end of the dream they sold us. But for the women who were once background characters in Kody's narrative, spotlight is finally theirs. They're not giving it back. Christine may have walked away from Kody, but some shadows of that decades-long relationship still follow her into her new marriage. While she's publicly celebrated her fresh start with David Woolley, radiating love, laughter, and relief, it's become clear on Sister Wives Season 19 that her past with Kody still weighs heavily on her spirit. Her frequent reflections, comparisons, and emotional unpacking of her old marriage have some fans wondering, is she truly healed? Or is she still grieving the life she left behind? Viewers have noticed that Christine, even in her happiest moments, often circles back to the pain Kody caused: his neglect, his favoritism, his inability to love her fully. And while these confessions feel honest and raw, they also signal just how deeply scarred she was by that plural marriage. Her love story with David is a fresh chapter. But Kody's name still appears in the margins. Some fear that this continued focus on her ex might plant seeds of insecurity in David, who stepped into Christine's life ready to heal, not compete. And though David has shown nothing but support, patience, and joy, the emotional residue from Christine's past may one day challenge their bond. For now, Christine insists she's happier than ever, and she looks it. But deep down, some fans wonder whether the final page of her relationship with Kody has truly turned, or if the ink is still drying on wounds that ran far deeper than anyone knew.